So we have a situation where the president resigns and there's now a vacancy in the presidency. What happens now?
Okay, in terms of a resignation, the president would have to write to the Speaker of the National Assembly with his resignation letter. That would be tabled in Parliament, and that then creates the vacancy in the office of the president. In terms of the Constitution, the Deputy President will then step in as an acting president for a maximum period of 30 days, during which time there will need to be an election for a new president. And that president is elected by the 400 members of the National Assembly, and one of those each of those members is eligible to stand as a candidate, but we assume that Cyril Ramaphosa would be the favoured candidate to win such an election. So he would immediately step in as acting president, subject to his election by the National Assembly.
Is there a time frame in which this is supposed to happen?
Well, let's say the election will need to happen within 30 days. And interestingly, it is the Chief Justice and not the Speaker that determines the date of that election. It's held under the auspices of the Chief Justice as the third arm of the state who will preside over, in the National Assembly, the Chief Justice, Mogoeng, will preside over the election of the new president.
What happens to the old president, President Jacob Zuma? Is he immediately retired or will he still have some official duties?
He will immediately vacate office. He will have to leave the union buildings immediately. Obviously, there'll be a period of time in which he's allowed to leave his official residences, to pack up and so on. But his official duties end immediately.
And the new president, who we are assuming will be Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, he will then still be able to serve his 2 terms should he be elected.
The Constitution again makes provision for this and says if someone serves an unfinished term, which this is, it does not affect the fact that they can still serve a further 2 full terms of 5 years each. So it would have no impact on that.
Okay. And say we have a situation where President Zuma refuses to resign. What are the ANC and opposition parties' options to remove him?
Well, there are 2 other mechanisms that are articulated in the Constitution for the removal of the president. One is a motion of no confidence, the other is an impeachment process. Now, an impeachment process will be a more time-consuming one. We know that the rules are not yet ready in Parliament for that to happen. So what we're really dealing with now, I think, is a motion of no confidence, which has already been tabled by the EFF. It seems that there might be some agreement between the EFF and the ANC in terms of the content and the scheduling of that motion. But if President Zuma is removed through a motion of no confidence, all his members of cabinet, as well as all deputy ministers, must resign immediately. And that then creates the situation where the Speaker of the National Assembly becomes the acting president, because at that point we won't even have a deputy president. So the Speaker becomes the acting president until such time as a new president is elected by the National Assembly.
So then the Speaker becomes the acting president, as you say, and is there then a certain period of time again in which a new permanent president needs to be?
Well, again, it's a maximum period of 30 days. The election must happen within that 30-day period. And in that period, the acting president has all the powers that a president would have, so they could appoint people to cabinet to ensure that government continues to function until such time. I think the reality, though, is that the election of a new president will happen very, very quickly, within a matter of days rather than a matter of weeks.
There's a bit of uncertainty I've seen in the public out there about what happens to President Jacob Zuma's benefits should he be removed either via a motion of no confidence or an impeachment.
If he's removed in either of those 2 ways, through a resignation or a motion of no confidence, he will retain his benefits that are set out in the ministerial handbook, his pension, the right to security detail and private office staff, etc., etc. If, however, he is removed through an impeachment process, then he ceases to have the benefits of office, and that's a punitive sanction that he will have done something wrong in terms of breaching the law or the Constitution or being guilty of gross misconduct, and therefore it's a penalty that is then imposed. But that's only in the case of an impeachment process.